I'll take a video as well. Which of them is that? Which one is the best? Okay. Let's talk big. Let's talk 11 flavors so interesting, so unique, you will think they were made just for you. For the cool kids who break all the rules. Let's be honest, everyone likes apple. Biggie apple. Two things every Nigerian loves. Football and chocolate. Or maybe you just want the best, no questions asked.
Okay, let's briefly look at economics and sorry for the timing. The arts class, they're gonna be started a little bit late this time because of the hectic schedule we're having. So it's most likely gonna be starting by 8 henceforth. And please always join us one way through. So I'm on the platform you're using, Tclassified.com. So I'm gonna quickly click on all courses so that we can locate economics. Okay, we all know that we have barely 2 weeks to our JAMB exams. Barely 2 weeks. We don't even have up to 2 weeks. I think it's about 15 days. It's starting on the 19th of this month. Okay, so we're trying to round up our classes. And government is one of the courses that we are almost done. Almost. I think we are done. Like, they're supposed to smash government 100 over 100. Economics is another subject that we're also almost done in it. So you can see this is economics, one by Felix Ibe. So I'm going to click on it to get it opened up. Okay, it's open now. I'm going to scroll down. So you're going to see the different things we've looked at, meaning basic concepts and economic problems. That's what we looked at the first time. Methods of economic analysis, we've looked at that. The theory of demand and supply, very, very important. Looked at that. Demand schedule, looked at that. Factors affecting demand. Distinction between change in quantity and change in demand. Types of demand, elasticity of demand, types of price elasticity of demand. Looked at national income, problems in computing national income, uses of national income, 3-sector model of circular flow of income, money, market structure, inflation, banking, population. Okay. So I think we looked at population, we looked at banking. I've not looked at inflation and market structure. Okay. So that's what we're going to look at today. Inflation. Let's start with inflation. We'll look at market structure. I think we've looked at money already. So by next week, from today, we'll start looking at past questions. Very important so that you will get prepared. Okay, inflation. Let's look at inflation. So what is inflation? What is inflation? Inflation is the persistent rise in general price level of goods and services. You're going to be hearing about Nigeria is suffering from inflation. Whenever you hear that word inflation, that means the prices of goods and services are just increasing, just like that. That is inflation. Prices are just increasing. The persistent, continual increase in the general price level of goods and services. You see the way the prices of things are increasing in Nigeria. Persistent rise in general price of level of goods and services. That is what inflation is. So once you see the prices of things, garri, module of Gary, the price is just rising. They go module of rice. You go to market to buy. After buying today, the next day the price is after buying the next week. That persistent rise in general price level of goods and services, that is what we call inflation. So when you hear inflation, just know that it simply means when you go to market to buy things, that their prices are continually increasing. Persistent rise in general price level of goods and services. That is what inflation is. Now, let's look at the different types of inflation that are possible. We have the demand pull inflation. We have the cost push inflation. We have the hyperinflation. We have the persistent or creeping inflation. And JAMB is going to ask you, which of the following is not a type of inflation? Which of the following is not a type of inflation? So for you to be able to pick out the right option, you need to know the types of inflation. And the various types of inflation we have is demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, hyperinflation, and persistent or creeping inflation. Okay, so like you all know, we build all this with your syllabus. So we looked at the ones that are likely to come out in your exams. Those are the ones we picked out. And because we have limited time to your exams, so focused on things that are relevant for your JAMB examination as well as your WAEC examination. Okay, so let's look at the effects of this inflation. When you talk about inflation, is it a bad thing? Is it bad? Is it good? What effect does it have on our economy? What effect does it have on the standard of living of the general masses? Effects of inflation. So these effects of inflation could be classified into positive effects and negative effects. Okay. So first of all, let's look at the positive effects of inflation. What are those advantages? What are those good things that you can derive from inflation? What are those good things you can derive from inflation? Number one is reduction in the burden of debt. So when there is inflation, there is a reduction in the burden that debt would have had on an economy. Higher profit margin. When there is inflation, prices are going. You see people make more profit, higher profit margin. They just keep increasing the prices because they say prices are already increasing. So let's increase it more so that now when we go to buy another one, the price is already high, we cannot buy. So they now put extra profit. So they now increase the profit margin. Number three, higher tax yield. You know, as prices are going up, the tax associated with such prices are also going up. So the government is going to get more tax in an inflation environment. Higher output. Because the prices are going up, people want to output more so that they will sell more, get more money. Now let's look at the negative effects of this inflation. What are the negative? What are those bad things associated with inflation? How is it that inflation affects the economy that it is not good? What are the demerits of inflation? Number one, it discourages savings. In an inflation environment, the prices of everything is high. So how are you going to save? You must buy those things, whether their prices are, you must buy modules of Gary, you must buy bags of rice, you must buy all those things. If you don't buy, how are your family members going to survive? How are you going to survive? So you must buy. So as the prices are going on, up, you must buy. But once you're buying now, you will not be able to save again. So it discourages savings. Number two, it increases interest rates. So when you borrow money from bank during inflation, as inflation is going on, money prices are going up, they're also increasing their interest rates. So you pay more as interest in any facility that you borrow. So You see, that is not good for business people that borrow to get facilities to run their business. Then thirdly, creditors lose. Creditors, people that borrow out money, they lose. Because you borrow out small money, things are increasing. When they want to return, they still return that small money to you. So creditors lose a lot in an inflation environment. And finally, there's fall in the standard of living. When things are getting so costly, some people cannot even afford them again. So their standard of living, people that cannot get enough money to purchase at that rising price, their standard of living will fall. They will not be able to get the things they need. They will make do, they will start managing. So that will cause the fall in standard of living. Okay, let's look at the control of inflation. How do you control inflation? If you have inflation, how do you bring it down? How do you make it impossible for inflation to occur? What and what measures do you take in order to cushion the effects of inflation or even stop inflation? Control of inflation. Number one, use of contractionary monetary measures. So you have the people like the central bank. They are going to use some monetary fiscal measures. Watch the way the money is being pushed into the economy, how the budget is being arranged or is being planned and executed. So they're also going to leverage the control power of the central bank in making sure that adequate monetary measures are administered to reduce inflation. Effective price control system is also very, very important. So there has to be a price control system so that things don't get out of hand. You know that there are some products that once their prices are increasing, we're going to see the effects on almost every other thing. Let's take, for instance, the price of petrol, fuel. It's most likely that anything you're selling is transported. So once the price of petrol is increasing, the price of transport is also increasing. So it's going to affect the prices of all these goods that are transported in order for you to sell them. So you're going to, it's good, there's a very important, it becomes very paramount to effect a very effective price control system. Reduction in government expenditure and surplus budget is very important. Government has to reduce its expenditure and surplus budget because high expenditure and surplus budget cause inflation. Industrialization, very, very important. If we are producing what we are using, then inflation is likely not going to be a problem. Checking out the activities of others, very important. Government should enforce and make sure that people don't hoard things. They don't hoard. Where people hoard in order to sell at very high price. So hoarding should be discouraged. Now, increased production, like I said, industrialization and increased production. These two are very similar. When there is much production in the country, it's mostly unlikely that there's going to be inflation. Granting of subsidy to enterprise. So subsidy also, like when we are having fuel subsidy, it reduces the price of fuel. That's why people are saying, let's remove the fuel subsidy. When you remove the fuel subsidy, the price of fuel will increase and it might cause inflation. But it's good because people are using that subsidy to scam the country in total. Very bad. So in that aspect, we don't need no subsidy. Subsidy is not good, you understand? But there should be transparency in the way the oil industry is run. Then we'll talk about removal of bottlenecks in distribution system. Bottlenecks, bureaucracy, bottleneck, very, very important. We don't need it. We need to remove it totally so that things will flow well, so that distribution system will work effectively. We'll talk about discouragement of importation, like We said industrialization and increase in production, very, very important. So that we don't import much. Once you're importing too much, you are going to have inflation. And that's what we're having in Nigeria. Almost everything we are importing. What are we producing? What are we producing? Industrialization is very important. We need to encourage local content and local production. Then finally, use of income policies. So we can also use income policies to manage inflation. Okay. It's like I'm gonna just stop here. I'm gonna stop here. Market structure, we have let me check out what I have in market structure. But in our next class, we're gonna be looking at this economic perspective and answers. Because we're almost getting to I'm gonna look at market structure in the next class. And upper class, I'm gonna look at this perspective. Okay, market structure. Okay. Okay, I love this. So quickly get to our platform, educate Africans, open the various course subjects you're doing, study them. We have both video format and texture format. If you click on this video, you're going to see me coming and teach this class. All these lectures will build them over the years, and they're very, very good. They're very, very effective for you. But most importantly, click on this JAMB CBT app. Use them for your JAMB practice. You're preparing for WAEC, this is the WAEC CBT app. By next week, we'll put up our budget for junior secondary school students. So everything you need as a student is on this platform, Tclassified.com. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to be signing off. See you when I see you.